Good morning. Well, it's time once again for a midweek uplift from John Wesley United Methodist Church. Now, I know you've been expecting to see our church family members bringing these devotionals, and that would have happened today, except that the lady who was going to do this had some allergy problems, and so I told her I would stand in for her, and we'll catch her at a later time. We're back out at the Victoria Educational Gardens, a place where I have spent a whole lot of time early in the mornings. It's quiet, pretty serene. Just me and the Lord and God's creation. You know, this is a really good place to sit and think and pray and just listen for what God might have to say. I really like sitting here beside the pond and beside the waterfall. I have to confess that sometimes I fall asleep. The sound of the water is just so soothing. It's wonderful. But I come out here because it's a good place to just be alone. You know, God began everything in a garden. The Garden of Eden. He placed Adam and Eve in that very special place. Gardens are places where there's a lot of life, a lot of different kind of life. We have a pond full of water lilies. We have plumeria over here. We have the palm trees of various kinds, banana trees. You know, things all around us that are full of life and growing. And in the springtime, when everything is blooming, it is incredible. You've got bees flying around from flower to flower. You've got spiders. I've even seen little rabbits, and there is a Victoria Gardens cat roaming the grounds as well. A lot of life, a lot of beauty. That's what a garden is about. There's another thing that a garden is about, and that's blooming. As I mentioned, in the springtime, all the flowers just burst forth with color and joy and life. But you know, these water lilies are not going to grow in the same place a palm tree is going to grow. And the banana tree, you're not going to plant in a garden in rows. Now, they may in banana growing countries, but out here, they're special and stand alone. The plumeria stands alone. We have rose bushes over here on the fence line. A lot of different flowers. Each plant is blooming where it's planted. And that's a lot of what a garden is about, is blooming. You know, the fact is, you and I, we're planted in a garden. We're planted right where God has wanted us. I used to wonder if I was born 100 years too late, because I like the Old West, but I like a fantasized version of it, you know, an Old West with washing machines and dishwashers. But then I realized one day that if I continued to think like that, that was a slap in the face to God, because I was born when and where God wanted me to be born. And I believe you're the same. In the book of Acts, it tells us that God has ordered the places of our habitation. He's put us where He wants us. I want to encourage you this morning to bloom where you're planted. Just like these water lilies. Bloom where you're planted. God has a reason for your being where you are. God has a purpose in your being where you are. Maybe you're going through a whole lot of turmoil right now. Maybe the chaos and confusion that's all around us is getting to you. I want to encourage you just to stop. Maybe come out to a garden somewhere. Maybe even come out here if you live in the Victoria area and just sit or walk the garden paths and listen for God's voice. Because friend, if God wants you somewhere else, He'll get you there. But right now, let's you and I, let's bloom where we're planted. Because God has purpose. God has a reason for our being here. We may not know it. We may not see very, very far down the future. but God's got a plan. So bloom, folks, where you're planted, and that's where you'll have the greatest and the brightest bloom. God bless you. I pray that you may hear God's voice in some way, maybe through another person, maybe in a thought in your mind. But I pray you'll hear God's voice saying, bloom where you're planted. I've got a reason for your being here. God bless you. We'll see you next week on Wednesday's Midweek Uplift from John Wesley United Methodist Church in Victoria, Texas. See you next week.